Hi again. I just want to spill it all out tonight while I have the energy that I don't normally have to just keep telling the stories. Anyway, this is the Dave Lewis story. Oh God, the infamous Dave Lewis story. So, I had a little boyfriend. I wasn't allowed to have boyfriends, but I had a little boyfriend that went to Cambridge. I went to John Glenn, you know. But my neighbor who lived a little way down the street, Chris Lowry, who was a dear friend of mine, Bo Burt would always visit him. Anyway, so secretively, Bo Burt was my boyfriend because I'd met him when I was outside playing. I was allowed to go outside and play even when I was grounded, like I always was, but typically I was allowed to go outside, at least on our grounds. And Chris and them rode their dirt bikes all through the woods over by my house. Anyway, I meet this guy, Bo Burt. So anyway, I talked my mom into letting me get a shirt, a gymnastic shirt, because I really love gymnastics, with Burt on the back. It was my shining glory. It was pink and had white sleeves, like a sports jersey, and said Burt on the back. All my friends at school had boyfriends. I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, but they had boyfriends, and they would get shirts and that had the letters on their back, and I'm not allowed to have a boyfriend. But I talked to my mom to let me have that shirt, because I had a crush on Bo. I said, well, my friends, I still can't believe she let me do that. But anyway, I had the shirt, so my parents took me to a movie. Honestly, Jim and Darlene took me to I went to like 3 movies my whole life, except for when I was with my daddy. He's the one that took me to the cool movies that my friends would see. My parents were too busy to take me to some romantic PG comedy. They wanted to see what they wanted to see, or they didn't go. So anyway, I'm sitting in the front row because we were loud, and my parents, Jim and Darlene, were in the back. Well, a row of boys were behind us, and some boy goes, "Bird, what? Who's Bird?" And I turned around and I said proudly, because my mother was nowhere near, so I was allowed to say I had a boyfriend. I turned around and I said, "Bo Burt is my boyfriend." I was so proud to say it. Well, anyway, the movie started. That kind of happened before. And the movie started. It was I know the movie. It had Risky Business. Yeah. Anyway, we're watching it, and he leans forward because he was like right behind me, and he says, "You deserve better than Bo Burt." And I was like, "Do I?" No, I don't. And then a little bit later, he leans forward and he said, "I would like your phone number." Oh. Anyway, I was flattered, and I didn't. That kind of thing. I was kept so secluded, so more secluded than anybody can imagine. That kind of thing didn't happen that often to me. So, and I didn't think I was pretty or anything. I thought I was so lucky that Bo Burt liked me. And so I gave Dave Lewis my phone number. I said, "Here's my phone number for 327-960. If you can remember it, call me." And he said, "I don't remember." I said, "You're not going to remember it." Well, anyway, the next day he did call. And anyway, I eventually, still I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, so. But, I broke up with Bo because I liked Dave Lewis. He was older. He was like 3 years older than me, and I was so flattered that he liked me. And he just seemed like he was so cool, and I wasn't cool, Anyway, I was really flattered, and I liked him so much. So, fast forward, I don't know, it was Halloween. Halloween would have been 1983. I wasn't allowed to have people over either or go anywhere very often, except in the neighborhood when it wasn't grounded. And on the grounds. I was allowed on the grounds when I was grounded, but that was suspicious too, of course. What are you doing? What are you doing out there in the woods? Which half the time I was alone. Actually, most of the time I was alone. But anyway, I just like to sit in the woods, be out of the house, and just feel like there is freedom in the world. But anyway, so my mom, Darlene, and my stepdad, Jim, they go to a Halloween party. Except when they're at work, I never get left alone. It was Halloween. So I called Dave and I said, my mom went to go to the party, come over. Well, he and his friend Grant Gander, who was adorable too. I still think Grant Gander was adorable. He and his friend Grant Gander, they ran. It was like 7 miles from downtown Cambridge to my house. Like 7 miles. They ran it to come and see me. Dave didn't have a car. He had his, I think, temps. Anyway, they ran it to come and see me all that way. Well, they got there, and I'm 13 years old. But we have an Atari. We have Atari, a video game. So we did like a tournament. We had we did a baseball because I had a baseball. God, I was obsessed with that baseball Atari game. I had that. So we were doing like play too because there were 3 of us. I don't know where Dom was. Dom must have been at a friend's house because she was allowed to go places a lot, but I was home alone. So we did like tournaments, like Dave and I would play each other, and then the winner would play Grant, and then the winner would play me, and then we just did we were just having fun playing Atari. Well, my parents come home, Darlene and Jim come home, and I'm like, holy shit, like I hear them come in. Well, I just said, I ran them clear to the back, we were in the downstairs, the back bedroom. I didn't know what else to do. I said, go back there. Clear way back. Our house was pretty big, and Darlene came down, and she's just, I don't know, she was talking. Well, I said I was playing Atari, which I was, and she went back upstairs to go to bed, I thought, and I ran back to the bedroom so I could tell the boys, it's safe to leave now. My mom's home. Darlene pooped the house. That's terrible. Darlene's home. But, she apparently, for whatever reason, decided to come back down again and caught me in the bedroom talking to the boys, telling them they could leave. So, there were 2 boys hidden in the bedroom, the guest bedroom, after 3 hours of really fun Atari tournaments. Anyway, that got me grounded for about 2 years. Yeah, about 2 years. On and off, but mostly grounded. Dave and I became like the Romeo and Juliet. I mean, I would sneak to call him late at night, go downstairs and call him on that phone when everybody was sleeping. And I wasn't allowed to talk on the phone. I wasn't allowed to have any calls, so I would sneak. I did. I mean, I was rebellious. I would sneak downstairs and talk to him on the phone. And slowly over time, while I was trapped in this prison, essentially, he became like my lifeline. I mean, talking to him at night, I would call him, at 11 o'clock, we talked to 12, 1, however late we could stay up talking. He was my hero. Anyway, even though we weren't physically around each other, our feelings grew stronger. Well, one snowy night, I hear, I'm in my bedroom, and I hear a tap, tap, tap on my bedroom window. So I open the curtain, it's Dave and a friend of his. It was snowy. It was like, we had like 2 feet of snow. Dave and his friend had come like the 7 miles, walked it, right in it, to see me. Again, amazing to me, because I don't know that I'm special. I don't. In fact, I'm certain that I'm not special. So, I mean, that alone, I don't have words for what that felt like for a 13-year-old living in a very emotionally abusive home. So he sneaked there and tapped on my window, and he said, "What if I talk to your mom?" So I opened my window, and he said, "What if I just talk to your mom and ask permission to talk to you, to date you, to, just at least talk to you?" And I said, he's come all this way. I'm like floored that anybody likes me this much. I don't think anybody will ever like me this much again, ever. I mean, I'm 13 and I can't get out of the house to do anything. And so he did. He rang the doorbell. I mean, nobody rang our doorbell unexpected, and so it was strange. I stayed in my room. So, Darlene, he comes and he talks to Darlene, and don't come out. Well, the next day, apparently she saw footprints going to the downstairs door, because he checked the basement door first. And she told me, well, I was going to say yes, because it was Cavalier. I was going to say yes, but he snuck in first. So, no. I said, he didn't sneak in first. He didn't get in downstairs. He was trying to ask me if it was okay, if I thought it was okay for him to talk to you straight up, which I thought was amazing. For a 16-year-old boy, take on my mother, just face her straight on. Holy shit. He was like Superman to me. But she said, I was gonna, because she did that to me a lot. I was gonna, but somehow I fucked it up. I was gonna. You fucked it up so bad, I was gonna, but no. Even though I didn't talk to him in the basement, But, she said no. So it became, oh my God, this is like a really long. So it became like this really, really, then I was not. She was angry, and she actually told him, no, that didn't happen then. Okay, so then we were just still sneaking on the phone. We didn't really see each other because I was in prison, and my mother's a tyrant prison warden, so, and he lives like 7-8 miles away, so, but I still sneak on the phone. After everybody's in bed, I sneak on the phone, I call him, we talk, we talked, just, I feel emotional, like, it was one of the most special things I've ever experienced in my life, just those talks we had. It wasn't sexual, I was 13. We just talked about everything. Our dreams and our hopes and our frustrations. And he listened, and he cared. I was madly in love with him. And I really thought he was madly in love with me. And we stayed up every night till freaking midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning talking to me. We had to be at school at like 7 in the morning. And we still snuck and everything. Wow. My church. I was allowed to go to church when I was grounded. It was in New Concord. My church had a YMCA like sleepover thing, where we'd get a whole. So I got interrupted by my phone. But anyway, so my church was having this sleepover at the Y. It was so cool. They were like, they would have the whole Y, like the swimming pool, basketball courts, you know, everything. The whole Y to ourselves, just the teenagers at my church that I went to without Darlene and Jim. And Darlene actually let me go. I know it's starting to sound like she let me do lots of things, which I'm only talking about the handful of things I ever did, so it sounds like a lot, but she let me go because it was my church. Well, Dave's dad was the director of the YMCA, and he knew that was my church. Goodness. So he secretly, well, and secretly, he came. He came to the sleep-in. He knew about it. So we're at this YMCA, this big, huge YMCA, and of course there's chaperones from our church everywhere. But we're really allowed to do whatever. Like, they had like music in the gym. We were allowed to go swimming. Basketball courts were open. We could just go play some basketball. Everything that was in the YMCA we had access to. So I swam for a while, and then there was Prince. Prince was my favorite. Prince. Oh, I was madly in love with Prince. I loved his music so much. I wish I could play it on my videos, but I can't have background music. I think YouTube's getting mad because I play music usually. I play music. I turn it off when I want to record. But anyway, so we're in there. Prince is playing. He put Prince on, actually. I found out later. Prince was playing. We were dancing. And then they put on Air Supply. And back in 83, it had to be 1983, Air Supply was just, I mean, the most romantic music you could have. So every song is a slow song. They're playing Air Supply, and I danced with him, and I was so tired. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We had swam, you know, we'd played games. If it was, we were allowed to stay up all night, obviously. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, I'm tired. But I stood on his feet. I stood on his feet and put my hand on his, against his chest, and he moved us. And at that point in my life, had never ever known that level of happiness existed. I had never known that anyone would possibly cherish me to that degree, want to dance with me. So we danced almost the whole Air Supply tape. We had cassette tapes back then from a boom box. Of how old I am. Anyway, it was the night of my whole life. It still probably is. Well, it definitely is the most precious night of my first 17 years. I mean, just precious from start to finish. The fun, the laughing, the carefree, you know, we weren't sneaking. Can I talk to your mom? Should I, you know, we weren't. It's just so nice, totally innocent. He didn't kiss me. I was 13. I'd never been kissed. Bo tried to kiss me, but anyway, I pushed him away. I wasn't ready to have my kiss, but we didn't even kiss. We didn't kiss that night. It was the most precious night I had for my first 17 years. Anyway, so in the morning, everything was over. You know, we slept in sleeping bags or whatever with the chaperones, and we just slept. The boys had to be on one side and the girls were on the other side, but we were kind of close to each other so we could whisper. But anyway, we went to bed, and then in the morning, you know, like 8 o'clock was over. Our parents come to pick us up. My mom comes to pick me up, and she says, "Was Dave Lewis there?" His dad is the director of the YMCA. And I said, Yeah. I was scared to death to lie. I said, he was there, Mom. So I got grounding up top of my grounding because I was so grounded. I only got to go to this because it was a church thing. So she said, well, we'll just add this onto your time, which there was no time. It was, her grounding was always indefinite. You're grounded indefinitely until I feel like telling you you're not. So I was already grounded indefinitely, and now she said, we're adding on to that because you were trying to trick me. I wasn't trying to trick her. Oh, I'm gonna get my leg in. I wasn't trying to trick her. I was just 13 years old and was excited to have a night with the boy I had a crush on. He was an older boy, and he liked me. He really, really liked me. Me, All the girls, he was so cute. All the girls in the world, he liked me. So, it was wonderful. Anyway, so moving forward, we still did our sneaking after. I still would sneak on the phone and go in the basement, which is totally soundproof, and talk on the Mickey Mouse we had on the corner down there. So it continued by phone, even though I wasn't allowed to use the phone. I was grounded from the phone, but it grew. And he was my boyfriend, my secret boyfriend, but he was 16 years old. He was handsome and smart and funny, and he could have so many girls, and he liked me. 13-year-old me that wasn't even ready to have a kiss yet. Anyway, so it grew. Valentine's Day, he sent me a card and put like a code return address. I can't believe Jim gave me that card. I don't think he showed Darlene first. It just said, this is for you. And I slept with that in my pillow for probably 3 years. It was just a Valentine's card. It was just a cute little funny Valentine's card, and he signed it, Love, Dave. Anyway, that was my treasure. Darlene found it later and threw it out, but it was my treasure for a couple of years. Well, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, I don't know, time is so vague for me, but at another point, Dave came to my window again, and I think it was still snowing, because I think there was snow there was snow on the ground. And when he tapped on my window, and he and his friend had run 7 miles from his house to my house in the winter. And he said, he was drunk. I've never seen him drunk before. We didn't really know he was drunk at first, but I thought he was kind of drunk. He was like crying and saying, I just need to sit with you and talk to you. And he was beat up. He had somebody had hit him. To this day, I don't know what happened, but he had some scrapes and cuts and a black eye, and he was kind of drunk. And my heart, I just wanted. I tried to hold him out the window. I tried to do that, but it wasn't the same. I just wanted to sit on the sofa and hold his hand and hear, what he had to say and what happened and why he was drunk and came 7 miles drunk in the snow to see me. I felt like that was really important. It had to be something pretty important. So again, he said, I'm just going to ask your mom. And I said, it's probably not a good idea, but he said, I'm going to ask her. So even though we were banned from seeing each other, like Romeo and Juliet, truly banned, from seeing each other. He rings the doorbell, all beat up, drunk, got his buddy with him. And maybe he didn't have his buddy with him that night. He might not have had Grant with him. I think he might have been alone. So he rings the doorbell, and I stay in my bedroom, hoping Darlene will say, come out. You two can sit in the living room or, talk for a while. Because I assumed she would feel for whatever was going on with him to make him this desperate. And I heard him. He said, please, I beg you, I would just like to sit and talk with your daughter for a little bit. You couldn't sit with us. I just want to sit next to her and talk. I heard him. I didn't hear Darlene's reply. And I was in the bedroom still hoping that she would say, Krista, come on. You and Dave can sit in the living room and talk for a little while. Of course, that never came. She said no. Then she threatened if he ever stepped foot on our property again to call the law, to call the police on him. She called his parents and said, keep him off our property. I will call the police if he shows up here again. So, at that point, it was just over, I could still sneak and talk to him on the phone. We weren't gonna be able to see each other or spend time with each other, or, we had to sneak talk on the phone, 13 and 16. His parents let him have a life, Anyway, so. About 3 days later, my parents went out of town. I was staying with Rita, but I was over at our house for some reason, and the phone rang. And it was Dave. It was the day I remember I answered it in Darlene and Jim's bedroom. I answered it in there next to the big tub they had and all those windows and mirrors. I answered it in there, and he said, I guess we can't go anywhere with this. And I said, I'm crying. I said, you're right, I understand. And he said, just wait till you're 18, though. I will be there. I lived on that dream till I was 17. I really did. I liked other boys, but in the back of my mind, I always thought, the minute I'm 18, I am Dave's. Dave and I are going to be together. We'll be together forever. I'm 13 years old. Anyway, it was probably one of the most precious experiences in my life. I did reconnect with Dave a few years ago, and unfortunately, what a terrible piece of garbage he is. He's a liar. He has 5 kids with a woman he doesn't pay child support on, so he doesn't have a job. He only works under the table, so he doesn't have to pay child support for 5 children. My life sucks. The difference is his parents love him. And his brothers, they love him no matter what. It doesn't matter if he doesn't pay child support for his 5 kids, or he gets drunk all the time, or he's a liar. It's a whole other story that I may or may not ever tell about reconnecting. But anyway, that's that story. That's the Dave Lewis story. Hoopla.